Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Talk Spicy. I'm Coach Gene Clemens. Thank you for joining me wherever you join me. Rate the show, comment, agree, disagree, but whatever you do, keep it spicy. 5-star ratings are appreciated. And if you're joining me on my YouTube channel, like, subscribe. If you're joining me on Twitter, because I've been here live all week, make sure that you're hitting that like button. I really do appreciate all of the engagement that I've had this week during these live tapings. I want to talk about grace because apparently many of us in the media have forgotten what grace is. Grace is courtesy. Grace is giving you the opportunity to do something outside of the norm, outside of what would normally be socially acceptable. So if we met on the street and you were to address me in a professional setting, you would not call me by my first name. You would call me Mr. Clemens. You would call me Mr. Clemens. That is professional etiquette. That is professional etiquette. When we see each other in a professional setting and we refer to each other as sir. That is professional. Now, if you tell me, hey, don't call me Mr. Smith, call me John, then guess what? Okay, I'm going to start calling you John. But I then also have the right to still call you by some professional moniker, whether that be Mr. Smith or whether that be sir, because that is the standard. Now, just because you meet a bunch of people who allow you to do something outside of the standard, they allow you to be more personable with them, doesn't mean that that gives you the right to be personal with everyone. That doesn't mean that it gives you the right to try to degrade someone because they want you to call them by that salutation, by that Mr. So why is it any different in coaching? I'll wait, because the only people I hear giving blowback on this are media people. By the way, media people that I respect, people that I think do a fantastic job in the media, those are the people who are really blowing back on this. And I just can't understand it. I can't get where you guys are coming from. I don't know if it's because you've never played. I don't know if it's because you've been fortunate enough to meet coaches who just, for whatever reason, they don't care about being called coach. But the idea, the audacity, the entitlement that comes with still wanting to call people by their first name after they've asked you not to, and then to try to ridicule them and make fun of them because they want to be called by their professional moniker. It is the highest level. It is the highest level of hypocrisy, and it's hypocrisy that comes from entitlement. You want to be respected as a journalist. You don't want someone to say, well, anybody can do your job. Because we know as journalists that in today's society, everybody has a blog. Everybody has a website. Everybody has a podcast. Everybody does the news. It has, to a certain extent, diminished the light that used to shine brightly on journalists and the respect that came with being a journalist. When tabloids started to infiltrate real journalism, it degraded the journalist. And I don't really particularly care how you feel about it on the other side. I went to journalism school. My entire life, I wanted to be a journalist. I watched people get jobs in journalism who were not journalists. I watched people get jobs in journalism who were not better than me at the job because they could take a job that I couldn't afford to take. So, working as a journalist, I would take offense if someone just said that I was a gossip columnist. I would take offense if someone called me something that I was not. If I asked them politely, hey, I'm a columnist, I'm not a gossip columnist, whatever, and they then refuse to call me by that, I would have an issue with it. They wouldn't dare then go out and try to degrade me because I wanted to be called something that I actually was. So please help me understand why it is so difficult for you out there to call a football coach. Number one, they're making your job easier. You don't even have to remember their names. Number one, calling somebody by their first name usually means you have some type of personal connection with them. Either you know them, you have a relationship, or they have given you permission to call them by their first name. If they have not given you permission to call them by their first name, at the least, you should be calling them by that title. You know, when you fill out an application that says title, Mr., Mrs., right? Yeah, you should be calling them by that title. You should be calling them Mr. whatever, because that is common courtesy. Well, guess what? You get the step in between. You get to call them coach. You don't have to call them coach first name. You don't have to call them coach second name. You can just call them coach. That's all. That's all that is required. And then you don't have to worry about anything else that's going on. You don't have to worry about whether or not it's okay to call him this or to call him that. You can just call him coach. The entitlement that comes with calling somebody by their first name when they've asked you to call them coach just comes down to the fact that you don't believe you should have to follow rules that everybody else has said this is the standard. Again, if a coach tells you, call me John, call me Bill, call me Mike, that's great. Call them by that name. But if they don't give you that option, if they ask you to call them coach, what are we talking about? This is the easiest thing in the world. You people look foolish. I am speaking to every single journalist out there that has an issue with just calling a coach by what they are. You look foolish. And every single time you post about how some other coach lets you call them by their first name, you look like a child, because that's what children do. Hey, don't play in the mud. Well, Miss Judy lets me play in the mud. I'm not Miss Judy. Hey, don't eat those cookies. Well, Mr. Thompson lets me eat the cookies. I'm not Mr. Thompson. If you and if you understand, you understand. And if you don't, you don't. You're going to keep on doing what you do. But I'm telling you, from somebody that is in the same profession, from somebody who has several friends who are in the same profession, but from somebody who is on the other side and has several other friends who have been on the sports side of this and not just on the sports journalism side of this, you look childish. There's no other way of saying it. You look stupid. Why are you fighting that battle? Is this the hill you want to? Do you really want to destroy relationships with particular coaches because you refuse to call them by coach? Because you want to die on the hill of calling a guy you don't have a personal relationship with by their first name. That makes no sense to me. The number one rule of a journalist, especially a journalist that's on a beat, is to make sure that they build relationships so that they can cultivate news. If you won't respect a coach wanting to be called coach, how do you ever build that relationship? All of the people who posted stuff about Coach Gilbert from the Giants, all of the journalists that posted things about how, oh, well, this was ridiculous, and you have to cover the Giants. What do you think you're getting from him? I'm sorry, I said Gilbert. I meant Garrett, Jason Garrett. What do you think you're going to get from Jason Garrett after you've tried to make him look like a fool in public? What do you believe he's going to be willing to tell you after that? No, you just burnt the bridge because you really wanted to die on the hill of calling him by his first name, even though you have no relationship with him. This is silly, and you should know better. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me on Talk Spicy. We do this thing a few times a week. We've been live every day this week, and I really do appreciate you joining me. Rate the show, comment, agree, disagree, but whatever you do, keep it spicy. 5-star ratings are appreciated. And if you're joining me on my YouTube channel, like, subscribe, leave a comment. We will see you all Monday.